Welcome back to the Diamond Polka Dot Powerhouse podcast. I am your host, Celeste Hartwell, and today I am so excited to be showcasing our very own Leigh Lincoln. Leigh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I know that you're an author and you have some really great, passionate work about crafting novels and all of that. So tell us a little bit more about. I put your bio in the description, and people can read that for sure. But you tell us a little bit about why you love doing your writing and sharing your words with the world.
Well, my novels are a bit unique because they're written in first person and they really draw my readers in and get you to look at yourself and others in a different light. Um, I've actually had people who tell me that they're really novels that are self-help. So, which is a really unique take on looking at the whole premise of how novels can be used. So I really like that. And I really like being able to go out there and meet readers at events and when I speak to really hear their stories and hear what's making them tick. And then I call myself a story vampire. Anything you say can and will be used against you in either a blog post, a Facebook post, or a novel. So
I love that disclaimer. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Because I do write really in an unusual way, and I do really kind of write unusual stories and that kind of throw people, and they don't really fit neatly into any genre. So,
I love that. And so tell me a little bit about how you got into this work and why you love it so much.
well, I really wrote my first book, Road Home, accidentally. I
I love
didn't
that.
I didn't set out to write a novel at all, or even a story at all. I did homeless and poverty advocacy for a long time, probably like 30 something years before I wrote my first book. Um, and I was involved in a lot of community groups. And I happened to be at this community meeting one night. And I tried to get my point across, but the guy who was running it pointed to the politician and the businessmen and all the people in town who had standing, and he just ignored me. And at the end of the meeting, I went up to him to try to get my point across. And he shut me down. He gave me all the reasons why. I was just a stay at home single mother who had never had a real job or a degree. And therefore, I kind of didn't matter. And well, okay, all of those things were true, but that didn't mean I didn't matter. And so I went home and I started journaling, and I ended up
Mm.
flipping somehow from writing about my frustrations and how he wasn't the only one who'd kind of put me in this little box and ignored me for years, to writing first person perspective of a homeless woman. And yes, I'd been working with homeless people for a long time at that point. I understood them really, really well. But the thing is my feelings of being devalued, depersonalized, and ignored were a lot of the same feelings that those homeless women I'd been working with had. So I understand
Mm.
why I flipped the script, but I don't know exactly when I did it. But there is, I wrote a novel. I didn't
I
mean
love
to.
how you accidentally wrote a novel, and but also like it just sounds like it was inspiring. It was inspired from your life, right? In all these ways, and also being able to speak up on behalf of other people who have felt like they're not counted, their voice isn't valid, it doesn't matter. I love that you just accidentally wrote a novel.
Yeah, and now I'm 6 novels in. I'm working on my 7th, and I just never thought that anyone would read that first one because I still thought, you know, everyone's just going to ignore it because it's me, right? But here's the thing, you write a book, you become an expert instantly, whether it's a novel or nonfiction, and people listen to my voice simply because it was in print. So it was really validating, although it took me a long time to accept that 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 I was an author and that that people really did want to read it. So, but hey, like I say, I'm six in, writing the seventh now, so it's kind of cool.
I think that's amazing. And I also feel like what a great testimony to being able to start a different career at a different point in your life, right? Like we have all of these different stages in our lives, especially as women, and being able to just kind of start something fresh. And then yeah, you also said something about it makes you an expert, but it's not just that it makes you an expert, it's that you're like really, I think that when we create projects like these, they come through us and then they take on a life of their own. So what I also heard was like once these novels were written, you were like, nobody's going to be interested in this. But of course, they found their audience, right?
Yeah. And that was the interesting part is I had no clue what to do with it because of course I'd never had a real job. The guy was right on that point. I'd never had a real job. I didn't know what to do with it. But I kind of figured it out along the way. And even though a lot of people told me it wasn't marketable because of the subject matter, it is pretty deep and dark about a homeless woman, right? There is a market for it, and I did find readers. And the more readers I found, the more people that led me to. So, there's a market for everything. But I think a lot of it is you have to believe in what you're selling, and you have to believe in yourself.
Yes.
So which that was kind of a big hurdle for me.
Well, I can imagine, when the external world is telling you basically that you have no value, you have no worth, even though raising children and taking care of a household is a more than full time job and is extremely important in that family unit. But for whatever reason, we don't attach value to that as a society yet. I'm going to put a yet in there. Um, yeah, so I can imagine that it did take a lot. So tell me a little bit about how you came to finally see your own value and see your own worth in all of this.
Well, I think a lot of it was writing that second book several years later after so many people told me they loved the first one, write another one. And when the second one was very well received, I was like, okay, then this really is something I can do. This really is my path. This I really do have something to say that is valuable to others. And the second book was very different than the first. It's not the same genre. Um, it has very different themes. The first one is definitely women's fiction drama. The second one is a love story, which is different than romance. A lot of people get them mixed up, but they're very different. So the second one is women's fiction love story. And so different genres, but it was well received, even though it shouldn't be, because there's a lot of Spanish in there that's not translated. So there's a lot of negative things about this book, but it still was very well received. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm an author. I can do this. What I have to say, people will accept. And that was like when I really got over the hurdle of I have value, I have worth, I am an author.
Yes. Good for you. And so I think that as a person who is a writer as well, not I mean, I'm kind of a published author, but not really. I don't consider like having a chapter in a book really. That's my own thing. But I have some chapters in books. I have some things that have been gone to publication, but I still don't really consider myself an author yet. But what I've learned through my own business journey is that really being a published author is a business in itself. So when did you really like realize like, oh, this is a real thing? Other than the second book, like when you finally saw your own value and worth.
Well, once that second book came out, I really started earning enough money to where um, well, I'd never really earned a lot of money because again, I'd never had a real job. So, but once that second book came out, I was earning a lot of money, and then I really had to work through all of those things like sales tax and like because I was selling in markets like all over the country, and there was all of these things that I didn't understand business wise. And I was like, oh, I am so in over my head. How do I do this? How do I navigate this? I don't understand any of this. Like, I was in the deep end drowning. And that's when I realized this is a business. This isn't a game anymore. This isn't just I'm having some fun, right? And we just a side note, we really need to do the VAT tax like Europe, where everybody has the same tax, and make this simple on people.
Mm.
Because I am registered sales tax wise in every state in this country that has sales tax. It's a nightmare.
Wow. The things you don't think about when you just want to write a book.
Right, because I sell at markets pretty much all over the country, and they make it so difficult. I'm just saying it really is a business, and you have to know so many different
Yes.
things just to sell a freaking book, right? It's a nightmare.
It sounds like it's a challenge for sure. So tell me along those lines, like what do you feel like is the best piece of business advice that you've received?
Um, the best piece of advice is don't try to do it by yourself. Is there are experts for everything, and get help when you need it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, trying to do it yourself, you'd go insane.
Well, I think it's one of those things where we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And I just when you talk about like getting help, getting advice, like finding a mentor in some way or reading a book that's going to help you and in whatever way that is, I think there it really does cut down on the learning curve. And the learning curve is making mistakes and failing forward, of course, but sometimes they can be costly mistakes and sometimes they can be timely. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to cut down on them. A mistake can be a way to learn and move forward, but you want to cut down on the ones that cost you a lot of time, energy, money.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. That's great. I love that. So, do you have a specific story of someone who's read one of your books and like felt like they were completely transformed, like where they started, what their big breakthrough was, and like where they ended?
um, with the first book, I had this woman who emailed me after she bought the first book, and she said she got to a point in it where she was literally throwing the book against the wall and was so angry with me, because it was just horrible and it was wrong, and it was just the worst book she had ever read. And okay, I get comments like this sometimes. I was cool with it. And then about 6 months later, I got an email from the same woman going, okay, this book I wasn't angry with you because of this book. I was angry at myself. And I just didn't want to deal with all of the stuff it was bringing up. She's like, I've totally rethunk it. I've gone back and I finished the book. And now I'm volunteering at a local soup kitchen. And you were so right that this isn't about me, and it isn't about what I've gone through or my church. It is about how I look at others and showing some compassion. And I was like, yeah, that kind of is the point of this book, right? It is about how we view others. And yeah, this clearly cut her somewhere that she just wasn't willing to accept at the moment. But it took her 6 months to respond back, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm never gonna hear from this woman again. But 6 months later I did. So it was pretty cool.
But she
And
came around. Like, I
she
think
did come
that's so
around.
beautiful, and yeah, of course, like, anything that we feel like we're judging other people about and then realized, "Oh, crap, that's the mirror, and actually it's coming from inside of me," it can be very confronting, so
Yeah, and this is why at the beginning I said some people view my books more as self-help than novels.
yeah.
Because I do get some reactions like that are really strong sometimes, because my novels are very in your face kind of things. So
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's such a beautiful way. I think our brains do learn through stories, right? And so to be able to help someone be a kinder, more compassionate person, or whatever that experience is that that particular novel is giving to them, right? Helping them reframe their life and, and be a better human is not necessarily a bad thing. Or decide what they want for their life in whatever way that is. Like,
Right. And this is why I say that my novels are designed to spark conversation, whether the conversation is with me or with your spouse or with whoever in your life. That's what they're designed for.
I love that. That's so beautiful. So, Leigh, you and I have met through Polka Dot Powerhouse. We're both Diamond members. I would love to hear about your dot story and like how you came into Diamond membership.
Well, I was one of the few polka dots that wasn't introduced to polka dots through another polka dot. I was Googling women's networking, and because I was tired of trying to struggle with business by myself. So I am the rarity in the polka dot universe. And the more I got into polka dots, the more I realized that I needed that extra support that diamonds provide through the small group masterminds, because I need that connection and I need that sounding board, because there's so many things I don't understand about business, because, well, this is me. Yeah, never had a real job. So, as where so many other women have had, corporate jobs and various other jobs, and then now they're doing entrepreneurship. So, they know so many things that I don't understand. Um, so that's great to get into these small group masterminds and really be able to pick their brains about various things. That's amazing. Um, and this is why I am in polka dots and in particular in diamonds, is for that extra little support.
I love that. Do you have like a specific example of how Diamond has impacted your business as an author?
Um, well, uh, I am better able to understand things like, things that I need to put on social media, better ways to manage my newsletter. Um, very basic things I think that most people understand. But again,
But it
I'm
does
in the
take some learning of marketing, right? Like not everybody comes from a marketing background.
exactly, because those are things that I'm totally in over my head, and I'm slowly starting to understand. And while I understand how to sell at events really well, the online space is still something I'm struggling with. So, but I'm slowly understanding it better, and a lot of that is because of the small groups diamond
Mm.
membership. So, and that has been very helpful,
I
getting
love
some
that.
tips and tricks.
Yes, for sure. I think the small group masterminds are they're definitely one of my favorite parts of Diamond. It's just like the relationships that you build in there and the things that you learn. For me, often it's like somebody else is asking a question and I'm like, "Oh, I do have that question, but I wouldn't have thought to word it or put it together." You know what I mean? And being able to listen to everybody else's input, I get so much out of that as well.
Yeah, it's been a game changer being in those groups, because yeah, you're right. Some of the questions other people ask, I'm like, oh, I'd never thought about that, but I probably should have.
Yeah, like so glad somebody, I think it's just divine timing, right? Like it comes up when it comes up and trust it. And yeah,
Yeah.
even if it's coming from somebody else. So do you have like a core memory like of an experience that you had with another polka dot member or like a collaborative relationship that you've built?
Um, well, I've done several different things with different dots. I was on Amy Stone's podcast, and
Mm.
I did one of Carly Stein's events and sold a few books. So there's been several things over the years. Those are things I've done recently, but there's been several things over the years that I've done with polka dots, and it's been really great just to be able to help them, and of course it's helped me too. So and I really like that about polka dots, is being able to work with each other and support each other. I think that's a really an awesome part of polka dots.
I love that. And so what advice would you give to anyone who's considering polka dot or diamond specifically?
Well, polka dots is great if you just want to build some friendships and get to know women on a deeper level. The support in polka dots is absolutely amazing for that. And if you want to grow your business, diamond is where it's at because you, especially with the small groups, you really get to learn so many things about what you need to know for your business, even if you don't know that's what you need to know. so so there are two different, there's two different reasons to be in polka dots, and both are great. And if you just want to do the one, that's fine. If you want to do both, that's great too. So
I love that. Yeah, and so final words, is there anything that you feel like we've left out and how diamonds changed your business or anything else, any tidbits that you'd like to share?
um well, being a diamond has just really helped me grow in a way that I didn't think was possible. Um, because I now understand a lot of things that I didn't, especially around the online space, and that's been really helpful. My website looks better, my social media looks better, so that's just really been good. And learning some of these things that I was aware that it wasn't great, but now it's better. So, and that's been really helpful.
That's awesome. Well, Leigh, thank you so much for joining me today on this Polka Dot Diamond podcast. It's been such a pleasure. And I know that it's going to be in the description where people can find it, but is there a website that you want people to find you at if they're just listening?
Yeah, my website is leighllincolnauthor.com. That's Leigh, Lincoln like the president, author.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Celeste Hartwell. It has been such a pleasure to lead you through another showcasing of an amazing diamond member in Polka Dot Powerhouse. And tune in next time. We'll chat with you then.